It was just a gas station freezer. Cold. Ordinary. Forgotten in the back corner. No one expected to find a heartbeat inside. April 2025. A quiet Monday morning in rural Ohio. The kind of place where people know the cashier's name. Coffee is always brewing and nothing exciting ever happens. At least, not until Cali disappeared. Cali wasn't just a cat. She was the cat. The unofficial mascot of Sinclair Gas Station off Route 32. A sleek calico with mismatched eyes, one green, one amber. She had wandered onto the lot almost 2 years ago and never left. Since then, she'd become part of the daily rhythm. Truckers fed her bits of jerky. Kids begged their parents to pet her. Employees left the back door slightly open on warm days so she could nap on the sun-warmed concrete. And she always came back. Until she didn't. Sunday afternoon had been normal. Cali lounged under the ice machine, twitching her tail and blinking lazily at the cars that came and went. It was unusually warm for April. A breeze carried the scent of gasoline and wildflowers across the lot. She meowed when Rick, the assistant manager, came out to smoke, then rolled over for a belly rub. He chuckled and gave her the usual. "Don't get too spoiled," he said. That was the last time anyone saw her. By evening, she was gone. At first, no one panicked. Cats are cats. They wander. "Probably chasing a squirrel," Rick muttered. "She'll be back," said Janet, the closing shift lead. "She always comes back." But Monday morning came. No Cali. By noon, Rick had checked all her favorite spots. Under the propane racks, behind the vending machines, beneath the delivery crates near the dumpster. He even asked around. "Hey, you seen the cat?" The trucker from Indiana shook his head. "Nope. She always greets me, too." A pit began to form in Rick's stomach. By Tuesday, flyers were printed. Missing cat, Cali, with her photo, curled up in a shoebox, tongue out. Staff posted them on the windows, the light poles, the restroom doors. Emily from the bakery across the street brought over a tin of tuna, just in case. Still nothing. 3 days, no signs, not a single meow, not a single shadow. It didn't make sense. "She's not the type to run off," Rick said aloud, but no one knew where else to look, and no one thought to check the freezer. It was Thursday night when it happened. 10:42 p.m. The store was closed. The lights dimmed. Janet had forgotten her phone charger in the break room and came back after hours to grab it. She walked in, grabbed the cord, and was about to leave when she heard it. A sound, a faint scratch, like claws. She froze. It was coming from the back, from the walk-in freezer. At first, she thought it was a bird, maybe a mouse. But then she heard it again. A weak, muffled meow. Her heart stopped. She ran to the freezer. The door was closed. Locked. The kind with a thick rubber seal that keeps the cold in and the noise out. She yanked the handle and pulled it open. At first, she saw only boxes. Ice cream, frozen burritos, breakfast sandwiches. And then, in the corner, behind a stack of crates, something moved. Janet gasped. A small, curled-up shape, covered in frost, fur stiff, whiskers rimmed with ice. It was Cali, barely breathing, still alive. Janet didn't hesitate. She grabbed a towel from the break room and wrapped Cali in it. The cat's body was limp. Her eyes were open but glazed, her breath slow and shallow. Janet's hands trembled as she rushed to her car. By the time she reached the 24-hour animal clinic across town, Cali's temperature was dangerously low. The vet techs moved fast. Warm IV fluids, heating pads, oxygen. The vet, Dr. Hayes, examined her with a grave look. "How long was she in there?" he asked. We don't know," Janet stammered. "She's been missing since Sunday." Dr. Hayes didn't answer right away. Instead, he placed a stethoscope on her chest and listened. Then he looked up. She's lucky to be alive. Back at the gas station, the news hit like a shockwave. She was in there the whole time. How did she even get in? Rick checked the security camera logs. There was a gap. Sunday evening, around 6 p.m. The back delivery door had been propped open during a restock. One of the crates had been dragged inside the freezer, left open while staff loaded inventory. It was the perfect hiding spot for a curious cat. And a deadly trap. No one had opened the freezer since. That night Rick sat in his car, staring at the empty spot where Cali used to nap. He felt sick. He had fed her, talked to her, petted her, and somehow they had nearly frozen her to death. He swore to himself, if she makes it through this, she's never going outside again. What he didn't know was that across town, Cali's heart was still beating. Weakly, but steadily. A cat with 9 lives had just spent 1. And the fight wasn't over yet. Her body was ice cold. Her heart was slowing. But somewhere, buried under layers of frost and fear, Cali was still there. Dr. Hayes had seen many things in his 20 years as a veterinarian. Car accidents, animal abuse, even lightning strike survivors. But nothing like this. When Cali arrived at the clinic wrapped in a towel, her body temperature was so low the digital thermometer couldn't read it. Her fur was crusted with frost, her ears stiff, her whiskers clumped with ice. She wasn't shivering. She was too far gone for that. Her muscles didn't respond. Her pulse was a faint tap under paper-thin skin. "Start active warming. Now," he ordered. The team moved like clockwork. They placed her on a heating pad and wrapped her in warm, saline-soaked towels. 2 IV lines were inserted, one in her leg, the other in her neck. Warmed fluids dripped steadily into her bloodstream. A tiny oxygen mask was secured to her muzzle. Her eyes remained open but unfocused. "How long do we have?" whispered Janet, who hadn't left the exam room. Dr. Hayes hesitated. If she was in that freezer for more than a day, this is already a miracle. But her organs, her heart, kidneys, brain, may not recover. We just don't know yet. Cali didn't move, but she was breathing. Barely. Hours passed. A nurse placed a small portable heater near the table and dimmed the lights to reduce stimulation. Janet sat in the corner, wrapped in a blanket, watching the slow rise and fall of Cali's chest. She whispered to her, apologized, prayed. At 3:12 a.m., something changed. The heart monitor, which had been slow and flat, beeped a little stronger. Then again. Dr. Hayes checked the IV lines and looked down. Cali's paw twitched. "She's fighting," he said softly. It wasn't much, but it was enough. By sunrise, Cali's temperature had climbed 2 degrees, still far from normal but stable. Her pupils reacted faintly to light. Her front paw curled slightly when the vet touched it. "Neurologically, she's still with us," Hayes reported. That afternoon, her jaw moved. Then, as the nurse was adjusting the towel, she let out the weakest, scratchiest sound imaginable. A rasp of a meow, more breath than voice. Janet broke into tears. "She's still our Cali," she whispered. News of Cali's rescue spread quickly. By Friday morning, local papers ran headlines. "Miracle cat found alive in gas station freezer. Frozen but not forgotten." Customers returned to Sinclair Gas just to ask about her. One woman brought a handmade quilt. A 3rd-grade class from a nearby school sent drawings. Cats in superhero capes, hearts, and messages like, "Get well soon, freezer kitty." Cali became a symbol of survival, of second chances, of quiet strength wrapped in fur and frostbite. But the danger wasn't over. By day 3, Her kidneys began to show signs of strain. The cold had slowed her body's function. Now, as it returned to normal, the damage revealed itself. Blood tests were run, special medications were added, feeding tubes were considered. Rick visited the clinic in person that night. He hadn't slept. His guilt weighed heavy. When he saw Cali, still curled on her heating pad, wrapped in blankets, IVs in her leg, something broke in him. He reached out, gently touching her head. And for a moment, the tiniest moment, she lifted her eyes, recognized him, moved her tail. Rick exhaled a laugh that turned into a sob. "She remembers me," he whispered. "She remembers." Day by day, Cali climbed back from the brink. By day 5, she ate soft food from a syringe. By day 6, she purred, faintly, like a motor trying to turn over. By day 7, she stood, wobbly but standing. The clinic staff cheered. She wasn't just surviving now, she was recovering. A week later, Dr. Hayes gave the green light for her to leave ICU. "She's still fragile," he warned. "She'll need heat, soft food, gentle handling. But she's a fighter." Rick didn't hesitate. He bought a heated cat bed, 2 bags of premium wet food, and a custom name tag that read, "Cali, Freezer Survivor." When he picked her up, she curled into his arms like nothing had changed, as if she'd only taken a long nap. And when he whispered, "You scared the hell out of us," she blinked slowly and rested her head on his chest, like she understood. But there was still one question. How did Cali end up in the freezer? Everyone assumed it was an accident. She must have snuck in during the restock and got trapped. But Rick had doubts. Something about the angle of the boxes, the way they were stacked, the gap she would have had to crawl into. It didn't add up. He pulled the security footage again, this time slower, and paused. At 6:18 p.m. Sunday, a blurry figure, a teenage boy in a hoodie, walked into the back room, looked around, looked at the cat, and smiled. 30 seconds later, he walked out, alone. The freezer door closed behind him. Rick stared at the screen. His jaw clenched. This wasn't an accident. Someone had put her there. She survived the cold. Now she had to survive the truth. Because someone didn't just forget her in the freezer. Someone put her there. Rick couldn't stop staring at the grainy frame paused on the screen. A teenage boy in a red hoodie, face half hidden under a cap, his left hand resting on the freezer door handle, in his right, Cali, dangling, calm, trusting. 30 seconds later, he left without her. The footage had no sound, but Rick could feel it, the casual cruelty of the gesture, as if she were trash, as if her life didn't matter. He swallowed hard and backed away from the screen. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a crime. He brought the footage to the police the next morning. Detective Marla Dorsey, who'd worked animal cruelty cases before, took one look and said, "We'll find him." They did. Within 48 hours. He was a high school senior named Tyler Brandt, just turned 18. Had a part-time job at the gas station for a few months before quitting a week before the incident. When brought in for questioning, he didn't even flinch. "It was just a cat," he said. The room went silent. "You put a living creature in a freezer," the detective replied, "and left her to die." Tyler shrugged. "It's not like I killed it." But that wasn't true. He tried. And thanks to Ohio's 2023 update to animal cruelty laws, trying was enough. He was charged with aggravated animal cruelty, a felony. The community erupted. News broke fast. Teen charged after cat found in freezer. Survivor Cat Cali's case sparks outrage. Rick's phone rang non-stop. Donations poured in for Cali's care. Dozens of people volunteered to adopt her, even out of state. Messages from as far as Oregon, Maine, and Florida read, "She deserves a loving home. Let her live like a queen. What she went through, it's unforgivable." But Rick already had a plan. He wasn't letting her go. Not again. Cali spent another 2 weeks at the clinic before being officially released. Her walk was slow, but steady. Her fur was growing back soft and thick. Her weight returned, and her meow was stronger. Scratchy, but proud. The clinic staff gathered to say goodbye. She head-bumped every one of them, as if to say, "Thank you." Dr. Hayes carried her to the car himself. "You've got a stubborn soul," he said, gently scratching under her chin. "Stay warm, Cali." Back at the gas station, Rick had transformed the break room into her new kingdom. A custom-built cat condo stood by the window, complete with heated beds, soft pillows, and a wall decal that read, "Welcome back, Warrior Queen." But Cali didn't go straight there. She walked, slowly, past the freezer door, paused, sniffed it, then turned her back on it, and walked away. The trial took place 3 months later. Tyler Brandt showed no remorse. His lawyer called it a prank gone wrong. But the jury didn't buy it, especially after they showed pictures of Cali on the hospital table, hooked to tubes, icy whiskers, blue gums. No one laughed then. He was sentenced to 6 months in juvenile detention with mandatory counseling and 200 hours of community service, specifically at an animal shelter. Public opinion was split. Some said it was too lenient. Others said the message had been sent. But for Rick, it wasn't about revenge. It was about respect. "You can't hurt something just because it's smaller than you," he told a local reporter. Cali reminded us that life, all life, is worth protecting. By fall, Cali was a local legend. People visited just to see her, curled in the window, watching the world pass by. She even had her own Instagram, Freezer Survivor Cat. Emily from the bakery ran it. Within weeks, she had 120,000 followers. Her story was shared on morning shows, animal rescue blogs, and even featured in a short documentary called "Colder Than Ice: The Miracle of Cali the Cat." But none of that mattered to her. What mattered was warmth, and love, and trust, the kind you rebuild slowly, like a blanket knit one thread at a time. One snowy evening, months after her rescue, a customer opened the door and was hit by a wave of warmth and cinnamon-scented air. He looked down, and there she was. A calico cat, tail flicking, ears perked, sitting by the counter like she owned the place. "Is that her?" he asked Rick. Rick smiled. "She's better than ever." The man knelt and extended a hand. Cali looked at him. Then, with queen-like grace, she walked over, rubbed against his hand, and purred. In the back corner of the station, near the employee lockers, there's a plaque, just a small wooden sign. It reads, "Cali, frozen but not forgotten." She didn't give up. So neither did we. Sometimes, when no one's looking, she naps right under it. Safe, warm, and finally, home.